Today we're going to make some chicken and shrimp pad thai. Earlier today I spent the time to chop up some veggies and that video is no longer on my phone because my phone is full. So I had to make some space. So here I'm going to make the sauce and I'm just following a recipe that I found online that was actually a vegan pad thai recipe, but and the sauce that's used in that recipe is actually really good. I'll put a link in the comments or description below. But the sauce is basically peanut butter, so we use organic peanut butter, soy sauce. You could use coconut aminos. Put in some limes here as well. And it does call for, um, I think, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm actually tripling the recipe here to make it really, really saucy. So I'm weighing everything out. Some rice vinegar, very little, a little bit of sriracha as well. So I use about a tablespoon of maple syrup for the triple recipe. Also, I'm going to go ahead and I've been steaming up some water here on the right side to put in our brown rice noodles as well. So they go in for about 5 minutes. Finish this sauce here. And pad thai at a restaurant around us would probably cost about $15 per serving. So this whole recipe, wow, it's going to have shrimp in it that's actually wild caught shrimp. So this whole recipe is probably less than 2 servings of pad thai at a restaurant. And then if you add chicken and shrimp to the pad thai, it's probably a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and mix that up. And food cooked at home just tastes so much better. It is less cost for your budget. Obviously, it still does add up a little bit when you're trying to eat healthfully, but you do so on a budget and you're usually fine. So we're going to put our wok up, and I don't cook with the wok that often, but it is a fun piece of equipment to work with. It does tend to get hot pretty quickly, which is probably the point. And then we'll go ahead and put a little bit of olive oil in there. The recipe calls for like a neutral oil. And we're going to go ahead and cook up some chicken and then some shrimp before we get to our veggies. Tim's doing a little double check for me on the wok to make sure it's hot enough. He didn't think it was, so we turned it up a little bit higher. I mean, you're pretty much putting this on medium-high heat, probably a little bit closer to high heat. I don't like cooking on super high because things will burn. And as my dad used to say, cook it low and slow, so to make sure that you get good flavor and you don't burn your food. So we had the chicken going in here, and the chicken was just seasoned, salt, pepper, some red pepper flakes, as was the shrimp that'll be coming up here shortly. So we just let that sit for a little while. I'm just checking out the recipe on the hub there. And as usual, the dogs will typically sit by my side hoping for something to fall. I don't think they would have liked these red pepper flakes today, though. So chicken and shrimp pad thai. This is really a good recipe that's loaded with protein. We are going to run a race locally tomorrow, or not, about 45-minute drive away. So Tim will be running the half marathon, and the boys and I, well, Ryan will probably be running the marathon, the 5K, and then TJ and I will probably be like maybe walk, run, interval, just make it to the finish line. But the protein, this recipe is probably actually a pretty good balanced recipe, good wholesome meal. The serving in the rice noodles is about 4 servings. That package, I believe, is about 8 ounces, so half pound. And when you see we get to the veggies here, we loaded this up with probably double the amount of the vegetables that the recipe called for. So we're going to go ahead and remove our chicken from the wok. Go ahead and add a little bit more olive oil. And then we'll go ahead and add the shrimps. And shrimps don't take long at all, maybe just like a minute or two to get nice and cooked there. Oh, I forgot to mention, when you take the rice noodles out, oops, you go ahead and you put them in cold water to stop them from cooking, which is kind of something that I guess you should do with any pasta, but this specifically says it on the package. All right, and now we're getting ready with our veggies here. So this morning, like I said, I chopped up and shredded up some veggies, some red peppers, green peppers, carrots, red cabbage, and some onion, but forgot that the onion and garlic go in first. So we have some onion and some chopped garlic that we put in, and that'll cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. We'll put a little bit more olive oil in there as well, keep it from burning. And then once those onions are getting nice and a little bit translucent, after about 2 to 3 minutes, we'll go ahead, and that is the thing with the wok, it cooks pretty quickly. And we'll go ahead and we'll add the rest of our vegetables. Doesn't that look pretty? So much nutrition in those vegetables. And these will cook. I'm going to just spray it with a little bit of olive oil on the top there. And these will just cook down a bit for us. And when that's done, we'll go ahead and we'll add the sauce. Get everything nice and coated in the sauce. Then we'll throw the noodles in. The noodles, I'm not sure if I probably should have had them sitting in, I don't know, I probably should have separated them out a little bit better. Maybe sprayed them with a little bit of oil when they came out of the water just to prevent them from sticking. Oh, we can't forget our mushrooms here too. I love mushrooms. This recipe doesn't call for mushrooms specifically, but mushrooms are so nutritious that, and if we're having anything that's like Chinese or Asian inspired, we're probably going to have mushrooms in there. The older I get, the more I realize that I feel like we should be plant powered with a little bit of protein. Protein is really important, but you can overdo it on protein, so you want to be kind of careful. I think it's really hard to overdo it on veggies, I'll be honest. Although I have had moments lately where I have gotten pretty stuffed with vegetables. So, but the scale the next day doesn't seem to have the same impact as being stuffed with protein or carbs. So I'll take it. So go ahead and pour our peanut sauce in here. Now we're going to go ahead and throw our noodles in there, and oh dear, that seemed to get like a little bit sticky, but thankfully once we started getting the sauce covered with the sauce, it seemed to separate a bit. And you'll see Tim come along to save the day here shortly, where he comes in and says, I think we could do a better job of mixing this up. So he kind of comes in and saves the day on that. So and there you have it. So when we're done here, we're going to top it with some green onions and some peanuts. And that is dinner. Delish.